The Smashing Machine is written and directed by Benny Safdie, based on the 2002 documentary of the same name, and stars Dwayne The Rock Johnson and Emily Blunt. And it follows UFC fighter Mark Kerr from 1997 to 2000 as he built on his career, dealt with relationship troubles, and addiction troubles. This was a movie I was definitely anticipating this year. I've been a big fan of the Safdies' other efforts, specifically Good Time and Uncut Gems, and with them splitting off to make their own movies this year, I was very excited to see how they would fare as solo directors. Beyond that, this is The Rock, after years and years, finally giving us a quote-unquote real performance in a quote-unquote real movie, and that on its own feels like something that just needs to be seen right now. So going into this, I was pretty damn excited, and unfortunately I came out feeling a bit disappointed, even if there is still a lot to admire here. I think this is really technically impressive directing from Benny Safdie. He's sort of in pursuit of a cinema verite type documentary style, shooting on a mix of 16mm film, 70mm IMAX, and VHS, which does a really solid job of bringing you back to the time and place the movie takes place in, while also, like I said, bringing that documentary and realistic feel. While I did like the style a lot, I wonder if the commitment to that style takes away a bit of narrative intrigue or excitement that might come from a more traditional plotting structure, but I'll get into that more in a bit. Despite that, there are some really awesome scenes of The Rock just absolutely pummeling people to really beautiful music, and it's just very satisfying to watch. It's just really lovely, which is kind of funny to say, but it really is. And Benny Safdie here kind of continues that previous Safdie sensibility of casting unprofessional or retired actors in major roles. You know, Bas Rutten plays himself in this movie, as well as using current fighters from the UFC or other leagues to play fighters from that time. Most notably is Ryan Bader, who plays Mark Kerr's close friend Mark Coleman, who ends up being extremely narratively important as the climax of the movie is largely built around the possibility of Kerr and Coleman fighting in a tournament for a life-changing amount of money. These unprofessional actors, though, generally give really solid performances, with Bader being the standout, and they do a really good job of further pushing that immersion and making you feel like you're a part of this world. Beyond those supporting performances, unprofessional actors, the main talking point here, I think, is the performances of the two main stars, The Rock and Emily Blunt. The Rock is really strong here, and it's probably his career best performance. He's obviously using his own fighting experience to the benefit of the performance, just knowing the lifestyle and really bringing the performance to life through that. There is some excellent makeup work from Kazuhiro, which does a good job of helping to hide The Rock. You know, when you look at him, you still see that The Rock is in there, but he's a bit hidden, and The Rock is giving a solid enough performance on his own that he kind of disappears into the role a little bit. Mark Kerr is a pretty soft-spoken character, and he's got an anger that kind of threatens to bubble up a lot, and The Rock plays that super duper well. And he also has some pretty funny moments in here, which I wasn't expecting, particularly one scene where Emily Blunt wants to get on a theme park ride, and The Rock says he can't because of his tummy.
There's no way I can't do that.
What?
Why? Because my tummy. You know what that would do to my tummy. I would get sick everywhere.
Just overall, a really strong performance. It's not earth-shattering or anything, but a really exciting look into what we could see from The Rock going forward. And honestly, it's kind of frustrating to see how effortless this performance is for him. Just seeing that this talent has been within him this whole time and he hasn't really been tapping into it. It's frustrating, but it's awesome to finally see him reveal it to the rest of us. On the other side of that is Emily Blunt, who is always great and does give a good performance here, doing exactly what the movie asks her to do. But unfortunately, what the movie asks her to do and what her character represents in the story is one of my biggest issues with the movie, if not my biggest. In the lead up to the movie, watching the trailers, a lot of people made jokes about her performance and character looking very similar to the Every Boxer's Girlfriend SNL Weekend Update character played by Heidi Gardner.
Well, you going to the fight at least?
No, I told him, if he fights again, I'm taking the kids to my sister's.
And while it is a silly comparison, unfortunately for me, that sort of ended up being true. You know, this is a movie that is so in pursuit of averting the normal sports biopic cliches. And with so much effort being put into that, it's a shame that it fell victim to one of the biggest cliches possible with this character. Don't get me wrong though, this could be extremely true to life. Their dynamic in real life could have been exactly like this. You know, Dawn Staples, I believe, worked on the movie and has been at a lot of events for it, so she likely does sign off on the performance and thinks it kind of captures things well. However, even if it is grounded in truth and reality, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work dramatically and narratively, which it didn't for me. Pretty much every scene between The Rock and her quickly turns into a giant shouting match that felt pretty generic to me. And this led to their scenes feeling very repetitive, making me sort of think, okay, they're fighting again, instead of actually portraying the issues in a unique way each time and allowing me to re-engage with them in a new way each time. It ended up just feeling a bit one note and a bit repetitive. And unfortunately, this sort of took away my emotional investment in their relationship. And considering their relationship, along with the one between Kerr and Coleman, is meant to be one of the emotional driving forces of the whole movie, it results in the movie ultimately leaving me a bit cold when it was all said and done. Not really coming away with any big feelings or lasting emotions and impressions, which was disappointing as their dynamic is so central to the movie. So overall, while it is a technically well-helmed and directed movie with some strong performances and a great sense of cinema verite through its documentary style, it ultimately becomes a bit too committed to that style, and in pursuit of avoiding any and all cliches of the genre, ends up indulging one of the biggest, which ultimately weakens the emotional strength of the movie and thus makes the movie lack an oomph or punch that would have really helped it land and stay in my mind. I really wanted to love this movie, but ultimately I came away from it feeling it was just solid. It definitely has its merits through the solid directing and the performances, but it doesn't all quite come together and reach the heights I wanted it to. Still, I would recommend this movie to anyone who thinks they might be interested in this world, or even just seeing The Rock give a performance like this. On that alone, I'd say it's worth it. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye!